everyone, and welcome back to the Content Mix. I'm Carlota Pico, your host for today's show, and I'm excited to introduce Alessia Coletta, who is a brand manager at Trainline and has over a decade of experience in marketing and communications. Welcome, Alessia, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Content Mix.
Hi everyone. Hi Carlota. Thank you for inviting me in this amazing content mix platform.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. Okay, Alessia, could you tell me a little bit about your background? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so essentially, I'm an Italian girl. So my background is there. I've spent more than I think 10 years working across creative agency in Italy as community managers first, then social media manager, and then I ended up in a digital strategist role. And after 2 years in Ogilvy Milan was my last experience in Italy. I just decided that for me it was time to think bigger, let's say. So I decided to just move to another country. That's why I decided to move to the UK, and now I'm here in London. And I'm currently working for Trainline. I've been here for 2 years now. And yes, it was a big challenge for me, but it was great.
What was it like as an Italian moving to the UK? What's the labor market like in the UK?
Let's say that it's very different. And I remember that when I decided to move to the UK, my main aim was to learn essentially a different way of working. Was to live in a different context, not only business context, let's say. I was really curious to see how the life was outside Italy. So, and I found this market really open to people from abroad, and it was really surprised me. But yeah, I mean, I had a good experience, and I'm still having a great experience here.
Excellent. Well, that's always positive. Alessia, could you talk to me about some of the most memorable marketing experiences that have shaped you as a professional?
Yeah, let's say that, tricky one. So I have to say that in each of one of my experience, I had learned something. I remember the first time I launched a campaign for an Italian TV channel. It was great because it was the first time for me that I had the chance to work with a big television network. Then I remember when I joined Ogilvy, I was looking at Nestle Water as my main client, and that was the first time I was looking not only at the social and the social activities, but I was also looking at the more broad brand activities. So it was really, really funny, and I was really proud when we launched the first campaign on TV and on out of home. So yeah, I'd say these are the two milestones in my Italian career. Here in Trainline, I would say we launched a campaign, a digital campaign last year in Italy and France, and that was the first digital campaign ever social focus. So I was so proud of that campaign.
Oh, congratulations on that, Alessia. What's it been like to move from an agency to a company to a corporate now, basically to working for what used to be one of your clients?
Yeah, I had to say that I've understood plenty of stuff that I didn't understand when I was on the agency side. So it's a big change. It's a big change because essentially when you are in an agency, you are the person that have to deploy something or a campaign, a plan, whatever. When you are in a company, you act essentially the step before. So you have to think more broadly around what's your plan for the year. You have to mix the activities that you want to run with the business objective, for instance. Also, there is, I think, another big piece that in the agency is missed, and is the relationship with the stakeholder. So when you are in a big company, essentially you have to fight for your budget, for your ideas, and you have to defend what you think. So have a good relationship with the stakeholder. It's really important. So you have to learn how to speak with them. So this is a piece that in the agency is missed.
What transferable skills did you acquire during your agency years that now you're applying to your corporate time?
So the fact that I've been working in an agency for years, I think has helped me in pushing the company to try new things. The fact that you really know how the agency work really help you when you are on the other side and you have to deal with the agency. So yeah, I think that's the most the biggest competence that I've transferred.
Okay, well, with over 12 years of experience in marketing and communications, I do have to ask you about some of your favorite campaigns to date. So, what campaigns have you admired, especially during COVID-19 times? Whether social media campaigns or branding campaigns, whatever stands out.
Yes, so let me think. I think the two latest campaign that I've seen during this pandemic that really that I actually really liked was the first one is from Skyscanner at the beginning of the campaign. The campaign they ran, I think the tagline was "We will." So it was a social campaign with the PR activation, and I found it quite interesting for several reasons. First of all, they were really quickly in responding to this pandemic. And they realized that the brand was the most important thing to defend during this strange time where we are living now. Also because I found the campaign a great way to make the audience feel engaged with the brand in a time where the audience, we weren't be able to travel, So that's why I quite like it. And it was a good structured campaign because they had the first video, then a content plan across all the digital channels. So I found it quite interesting. Another one, it's a local Italian out of home from Netflix, I had to say, and it happened just after the lockdown ended. So essentially, the campaign was this out of home that looks like the cinema poster, as Netflix was launching a new series or a new film. And the campaign said something like, now it's time to go out and see the real cinema or the real environment. And it's really, really smart and clever if you think, because you are a brand that are selling essentially an indoor platform, and you are actually trying to get out people. So it was quite interesting.
Okay, very interesting. Well, thank you for bringing those campaigns to our attention, Alessia. So, from my background research, I understand that you started off in Trainline as global social media and influencer marketing lead. Is that correct?
Yes, is that correct?
And you were recently promoted to brand manager, so congratulations on that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
But I do want to pick your brain a little bit on influencer marketing. Neil Patil said that influencer marketing actually generates 23 US dollars per every dollar spent on it, which is almost 5 times as much as traditional paid advertisements, and especially now with ad blockers. So, as a professional who has helped brands run influencer marketing campaigns across many different sectors through your agency life, then in Trainline, etc., what tools do you use, Alessia, to zoom into the perfect influencer for any given campaign?
So yes, I have to be honest with you. I mean, in my careers, I've always worked with agencies, so influencer agencies, to help us to find the right profile we were looking for. But I mean, I'm aware that there are plenty of tools outside. I think a good way is always to be on the platform you are looking for. So, for instance, I don't know if you want to activate an influencer on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever. You should be there and just have a look to who are the real person or profile that you'd like to work with. So yeah, I mean, I can't mention you the name of a tool, but I think that if you are a big brand, you can always work with an agency. If you are a small brand, I think the better way is just to be there, have a look to what is going on around you in the platform where you want to be, and this might be a good option.
Okay, and how would you like zoom into the different influencers on that platform by like looking at certain hashtags, for example?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, if I let's say that if I want to activate an influencer within the fashion world, I will look for the latest trend, who has leverage on the trends. Yeah, using the feature that you have in, let's say, Instagram or TikTok, so the discovery feature. And then if you think a profile is good for you, you can always just reach him out. But again, I'm aware that there are plenty of platforms that are doing this job for you. So yeah.
Okay. Now, Alessia, let's say that I use your approach. I find the perfect influencer. That influencer is actually a micro influencer, and that person has, let's say, around 20,000 followers. The person is in line with my corporate values, with the company values, and it's just the perfect role model, right? To promote my service or my product. How much should that person get paid? How do you know how much to pay an influencer?
My God, it's a really tricky one. So first of all, I think you should have a look to the audience. So the number of followers that this person has. Then you should look at the quality of the content. And yes, and just try to figure out what's the right balance between the budget you have, what this person can give you in terms of quality of the content and in terms of performance. So I think the measure that you will look at, it's really important in order to define how much to pay an influencer.
Okay. What have been some of the most expensive campaigns that you've led
Mm, 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 mm. Oh my
without
God.
obviously disclosing any company secrets?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ballpark figures, not saying any names.
So no, you know what? I'm used to work with micro influencers instead of the big one or the celebrities. And the reason why is that I think that if you want to be close to your audience, you need to find someone that is really close to them. So when you work with the celebrities or the big one, you will have, I don't know, an amazing reach, you know. But then, are we sure that people will recognize themselves in that kind of profile?
Hmm.
So that's the question that I'm used to ask to myself when I'm thinking about the influencers I want to work.
Okay.
I can say that in the UK, the influencers are more expensive compared to the other markets.
Okay. What about freedom? How much creative freedom would you advise companies to give to their influencers?
Uh, hmm. You know what? It really depends. I mean, usually you have, so if I'm a brand and I want to work with you, you have to follow some guideline. For instance, your brand identity, or you have to be in a good position with my value for instance. So yes, you have freedom in terms of creating the idea, but we need to make sure that the idea that you create will well resonate with my brand and my audience and your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that if the creator is a professional, they can do their job really well. If you work with someone that is maybe not good enough, you will have some problem with that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So Alessia, let's say I find the perfect micro influencer and the micro influencer agrees to the payout, how much we're going to be paying that person to promote our services or our products. Then my next question would be, how do you measure the campaign? Like, how do you measure their performance? What KPIs do you zoom in to track the success of that campaign?
Yeah, it really depends what's the objective of the campaign. So if we are talking about an awareness campaign, for instance, a brand awareness campaign, you have to think that looking at the platform you are using. So if it's YouTube, for instance, probably you will measure the completed video views of the video. Or if you are on Facebook and Instagram, you will measure a reach, impressions, and probably engagement rate. But then if you have more concrete objectives, let's say, I don't know, sales or add to chart, for instance, that's still a very important metrics to measure.
Okay.
And I'm used to think the influencer campaign within a more broad, let's say, activation. So usually the influencers are only a part of a bigger plan.
Okay. So you're measuring them as part of a campaign.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you use any like measurement tools to track that as well?
Well, we or in my career, I've used plenty of tools like, I don't know, HotSuite, this kind of stuff. But we also have internal tools, for instance, here in Trainline, that allow us to measure, let's say, download, for instance, or Facebook is a really good platform because they can easily give to you all the data that you need. And then it really depends, as I told you, if the influencers are part of a biggest campaign or a bigger campaign. I used to run, I don't know, proper brand report. Okay, so I don't know, I will work with Nielsen, for instance, or external third parties that will help us in order to define the real impact of that kind of activity on the brand.
Okay, excellent. So let's take a step back, actually, Alessia. How do you know what content's going to resonate with your audience in the first place?
You never know. No, I'm joking. No, you know, I mean, I think the first step, the most important part is the audience. So if you are looking for talking to a specific audience, you need to choose the right person, let's say, and you also need to be sure that the sentiment, the perception around that person is good enough for you. Then I think the most important thing is that the content needs to be really native, and it needs to have a really good affinity with what the audience is used to watch, for instance, on that channel. Mm-hmm. If you are working with a YouTube creator, you have to be sure that the content that you're asking for feels natural for his audience. Otherwise, your campaign will just be failed.
Okay. We've been talking a lot about influencers when it comes to promoting a brand service, a brand's products, etc. But what about becoming an influencer? How do you create a personal brand online?
That's very difficult. You know what? I think it's always about the relationship that you have with the people in the real life and in your digital life. So you always have to look around you, be aware about what's going on outside your your let's say area, and you need to find to look you always need to look for interesting people to connect with, for instance. And then, yes, I mean, if you are so proud of the work that you have done, you should share. You should share your competence. You should share your projects. If you have collateral projects outside your professional careers, why not? Why not to share this project? So I think it's not just about visibility, but it's also about the quality, of this visibility. Because sometimes I think there are plenty of people that are just too visible, but without any substance.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to go viral without paying for the views?
Uh, it might be possible, but on the other side, we need to think that the platform today, unfortunately, works like if you pay, you can have a visibility. So yeah, I think it's possible. It's possible, but it's really difficult.
Yeah. It's always easier to pay to get those views, right? Okay. And now for the last question of this section. Alessia, if you could do anything in this world after 12 years of experience in marketing and communications, would you still be doing marketing?
Yeah, why not? I mean, yes, I'm happy, and I think you should never stop learning. And this kind of job always allow you to learn new things, because, as I said, it's a kind of moving, environment, a fast moving environment. So you don't have the time to just stop for 1 second and say, okay, there is nothing new. It's just not possible.
Okay.
So yes.
Excellent. Well, on that note, we're going to be moving into a rapid fire set of questions, which are basically your advice, your recommendations for our audience. To get this section straight off, I'd like to ask about your own source of inspiration. So, who do you follow? Who do you admire? Influencers, professional role models, people like that.
Can I tell you something? So I have always admired my colleagues. I mean, I can tell you that in each one of my previous experience, and even in this one, there is always someone that I really look at, because I think everyone has something to share with you, and you should learn from the people that actually are doing your job in the real life. So I don't have, let's say, famous or famous people that I admire, or I don't know, influencer or celebrities. I always look at my closest group of people.
Okay.
I mean, that's my personal view.
And that's a great view as well. Okay, Alessia, what about a book, a publication, a group, an event that you'd like to recommend?
Actually, I would say that I was born in this kind of social digital environment, and I found quite interesting. Go back to the basics, let's say, and just to give you an example, the book that I've read some in the past 2 months was How Brand Growth, for instance, because I think you need to have a bit of theory about how in general marketing works for doing your job, because it's really important to know the basics to just improve what you are doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah.
Excellent. And to finish up this interview, what's your favorite app at the moment and why?
No. My favorite app is Amazon Prime. Can I say Amazon? Because I'm using Amazon um, every day essentially for delivery. Then I quite like Monzo. I don't know if you have Monzo in. So essentially in the UK, Monzo is a fintech. Okay, is a digital bank, and so they have this app that I found really clear, easy to use, really smart. So there is Monzo, and I mean, these are the first two that I have in mind that I'm using essentially every day.
Okay, excellent. And what makes those apps so special for you? So like essential at this moment?
I think is essentially the user experience that they have. They are so simple, so smart, really intuitive. You don't have to think about what I should do. Is that correct?
Okay, excellent, Alessia. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Content Mix. It was awesome to meet you, talk about influencer marketing, and to pick your brain on so many other subjects as well.
Thank you, Carlotta, for inviting me and for having hosted me. So it was a pleasure.
It was my pleasure. And to everybody listening in today, thank you for joining me on the Content Mix. For more perspectives on the content marketing industry in Europe, check out the Content Mix. We'll be releasing interviews just like this one every day. So keep on tuning in. Thanks again. Have a fantastic day and see you next time. Bye.